Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we are in the book of 2 Samuel, and we are in chapter 4. Ishboeth murdered. Well then, when Ishboeth, son of Saul, heard that Abner had died in Hebron, he lost courage, and all of Israel became alarmed. Now Saul's son had two men who were leaders of raiding bands. One named Baana. I'm not kidding. It's not banana, right? Or trying to say banana. What a funny accent. Baanah. Okay? Baana, and the other Rechab, R-E-C-A-B. They were sons of Rimmon, R-I-M-M-O-N, the Beerothite, B-E-R, like beer that we, people drink, B-E-R-O-T-H-I-T-E, from the tribe of Benjamin. Beeroth is considered part of Benjamin. Because the people of Beeroth fled to get him and live there as aliens to this day. Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. His nurse picked him up and fled, but as she hurried to leave, he fell and became crippled. His name is... Okay. Ready? Mephishoeth. 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 Okay. Now Rechab and Baana, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, set out for the house of Ishboeth. And they arrived there in the heat of the day while he was taking his noonday rest. They went into the inner part of the house as if to get some wheat, and they stabbed him in the stomach. Well then Rechab and his brother Baana slipped away. They had gone into the house while he was lying in the bed in his bedroom. After they stabbed him and killed him, they cut off his head. Taking it with them, they traveled all night by the way of the Arabah. They brought the head of Ishboeth to David in Hebron and said to the king, "Here is the head of Ishboeth, son of Saul, your enemy, who tried to take your life. This day the Lord has avenged my lord and the king against Saul and his offspring." Then David answered Rechab and his brother Baana, the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, "As surely as the Lord lives, who has delivered me out of all my trouble. When a man told me Saul is dead and thought he was bringing me good news, I seized him and put him to death in Ziklag. That is the reward I gave him for his news. How much more when wicked men have killed an innocent man in his own house on his own bed? Should I not now demand his blood from your hand and rid the earth of you?" So David gave the order to his men, and they killed them. They cut off their hands and feet and hung their bodies by the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishboeth and buried it in Abner's tomb at Hebron. So for archaeologists wandering around Hebron trying to find the tomb of Abner, you should find an additional head in there. If you have a mystery head, you found the right place. Until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister. We are in Bible study. We are in the Niv. We are in the book of 2 Samuel. Now, I'm going to give a little, actually a little historical fact on, like, versions of the Bible and specifically about the book of 2 Samuel. Once upon a time, 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel was called 1 Kings and 2 Kings. And that is in the Vulgate version, which is the Latin version of the Bible. But before the Latin of the version of the Bible, we have the Septuagint. I read them down here. That's part of when I give you the various versions. That is the Greek version of the Bible. So it's not even actually the original language of the Bible. The original language of the Bible is sometimes Hebrew, sometimes Greek, because it kind of depends on who wrote what part, especially when we get into the New Testament, because a lot of the early churches were in Greece. A lot of it only comes into play in the Septuagint. Okay, when you are in the Vulgate version, there is no books of Samuel. There's 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 3 Kings, 4 Kings. What we know as 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. In the Septuagint, they're called the books of the kingdom. And they're also, biblical scholars believe, not all written by Samuel. For instance, this is 2 Samuel. But Samuel's already passed. He passed in 1 Samuel. So he couldn't really have written this part, could he? Because it wasn't here. So they believe it's actually 3 different prophets. And that would be the Gad, Nathan, and Samuel. All right? Now, when did it get to 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings? Not until the 1611 King James Version of the Bible, edited by Sir Francis Bacon. So, with that backstory, we will get in 2 Samuel, in the Niv, David becomes king over Israel. Chapter 5. All the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron and said, "We are your own flesh and blood. In the past, while Saul was king over you, you were the one who led Israel on the military campaigns, and the Lord said to you, 'You will shepherd my people Israel, and you will become their ruler.'" When all the elders of Israel had come to King David at Hebron, the king made a compact with them. So like a deal with them. At Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. So the second king of Israel, King David. David was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years. In Hebron, he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem, he reigned over all Israel and Judah 33 years. David conquers Jerusalem. Because now remember, as much as we've got these various kingdoms, not all of the area has actually been conquered. Jerusalem itself still has other peoples in it. David conquers Jerusalem. The king and his men marched to Jerusalem to attack the Jebusites who lived there. The Jebusites said to David, "You will not get in here. Even the blind and the lame can ward you off." They thought David cannot get in here. Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, the city of David. On that day, David said, "Anyone who conquers the Jebusites will have to use the water shaft to reach those lame and blind, who are David's enemies." So water shaft has got a footnote of B, or use ceiling hooks. Okay? And then the other part there, C. So they will have, instead of using water shafts, they will have to use ceiling hooks to reach those lame and blind who are David's enemies, or who are hated by David. Yeah, David's enemies, hated by David. That is why they say the blind and lame will not enter the palace. David then took up residence in the fortress and called it the City of David. He built up the area around it from the supporting terraces inward, which has got a footnote or the Milo, M-I-L-L-O. And he became more and more powerful because the Lord God Almighty was with him. So he expanded the fortress areas by anchoring it to the surrounding support. Now Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David along with cedar logs and carpenters and stonemasons, and they built a palace for David. And David knew that the Lord had established him as king over Israel and had exalted his kingdom for the sake of his people Israel. After he left Hebron, David took more concubines and wives in Jerusalem, and more sons and daughters were born to him. These were the names of the children born there: Shammua, S-H-A-M-M-U-A, Shobab, S-H-O-B-A-B, Nathan, N-A-T-H-A-N, as expected where I'm from anyway, Solomon, S-O-L-M-O-N, Ibara, I-B-H-A-R, Elishua, E-L-I-S-H-U-A, Nepheg, N-E-P-H-E-G, Japhia, J-A-P-H-I-A, Elishama, E-L-I-S-H-A-M-A, Elada, E-L-I-A-D-A, and Eliphet, E-L-I-P-H-E-L-T. So that's a lot of kids. David has a lot of kids. David is okay. David defeats the Philistines. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over Israel, they went up in full force to search for him, but David heard about it and went down to the stronghold. Now the Philistines had come up and spread out in the valley of Rephaim. That's R-E-P-H-A-I-M. So David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I go out and attack the Philistines? Will you hand them over to me?" The Lord answered him, "Go, for I will surely hand over the Philistines to you." So David went to Baal Perazim. So B-A-A-L, and then separate word, P-E-R-A-Z-I-M. And there he defeated them. He said, "As water breaks out, the Lord has broken out against my enemies before me." So the place is called, so that place was called Baal Perazim. It's got a footnote of B. Baal Perazim means the Lord who breaks out, because Baal, B-A-A-L, means Lord, like a title. Like I said, when we say the word Lord and we're talking about like an earl or, that kind of thing. The Philistines abandoned their idols there, but David and his men carried them off. Once more the Philistines came up and spread out in the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of the Lord, and he answered, "Do not go straight up, but circle around behind them and attack them in front of the balsam trees. As soon as you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the balsam trees, move quickly, because that will mean the Lord has gone out in front of you to strike the Philistine army." So David did as the Lord commanded him, and he struck down the Philistines all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. So Gibeon's got a footnote of C. And that's in the Septuagint. See also First Chronicles. In Hebrew, it's Geba, Geba, instead of Gibeon, right? To Gazer. That's a translation, because remember, Septina is Greek. It's the Greek version of that word. All right, so until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we are in the book of 2 Samuel, and we are in chapter 6. The ark brought to Jerusalem. Oh, what a happy moment, right? David again brought together out of Israel chosen men, 30,000 in all. He and all his men sent out from Baalah, Baalah, of Judah. This has got a footnote of D. That is Kiriath Jearim. So Baal-E, B-A-A-L-E, Judah, which is a variant of Baal of Judah. So all different variations of the same way to say the same name. Okay. To bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name, and then it's got another footnote on there. Hebrew, the Septuagint, and the Vulgate do not have the name, which is called by the name. This is called by the name of the Lord Almighty, who is enthroned between the cherubim that are on the ark. They set the ark of God on a new cart and brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. Uzzah and Ahio, U-Z-Z-A-H, and Ahio, A-H-I-O, sons of Abinadab, were guiding the new cart with the ark of God on it. And that would be important because they're Levites, so this way they didn't die. The Dead Sea Scrolls and some Septuagint manuscripts, Masoretic texts, cart, and they brought it with the ark of God from the house of Aminadab, which was on a hill. Okay. And Ahio was walking in front of it. David and the whole house of Israel were celebrating with all their might before the Lord with songs. I got another footnote of G. See Dead Sea Scrolls, Septuagint. That's in First Chronicles 13:8, and the Masoretic text, celebrating before the Lord with all kinds of instruments made of pine. So just carved instruments. And with harps, lyres, tambourines, sistrums, and cymbals. So, okay. When they came to the threshing floor at Nacon, N-A-C-O-N, Uzzah reached out and took hold of the ark of God because the oxen stumbled. The Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore, God struck him down, and he died there before the ark of God for touching it. Then David was angry because the Lord's wrath had broken out against Uzzah, and to this day, the place is called Perez Uzzah. It's got, of course, a footnote of H on it. There we go. Perez Uzzah means outbreak against Uzzah. So apparently Perez means outbreak. David was afraid of the Lord that day and said, "How can the ark of the Lord ever come to me?" He was not willing to take the ark of the Lord to be with him in the city of David. Instead, he took it aside to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite, Gittite. The ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite for 3 months, and the Lord blessed him and his entire household. Now King David was told, "The Lord has blessed the household of Obed-Edom and everything he has because of the ark of God." So David went down and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. When those who were carrying the ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed a bull and a fattened calf. David, wearing a linen ephod, danced before the Lord with all his might, while he and his entire household of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouts and the sounds of trumpets. So he was like fully in the moment of celebration. That's what they're saying. He was just in it. So happy, so rejoiced. As the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from the window. Now, remind you, this is one, she was in love with him, and then she wasn't in love with him anymore, and she had a husband who completely adored her, and now she's in a stable of women. So, just, okay. As the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched him from the window. And when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. They brought the ark of the Lord and set it in its place inside the tent that David had pitched for it. And David sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings before the Lord. Now we got a footnote of I. Traditionally peace offerings. Okay. After he had finished sacrificing the burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord Almighty. Then he gave a loaf of bread, a cake of dates, and a cake of raisins to each person in the whole crowd of the Israelites, both men and women. All the people went to their homes. When David returned home to bless his household, Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, "How the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, disrobing in the sight of slave girls, of his servants, as vulgar as any vulgar fellow would." David said to Michal, "It is before the Lord, who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me to rule over the Lord's people Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord. I will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in high honor." And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. So, until the next video, friends. Hello, friends. So, Bible study, the Niv, chapter 13. This video is going to be 1 to 17. This parable is called Jesus Washes His Disciples' Feet. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that it was time had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. The evening meal was being served, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all these things under his power, and he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took out his outer clothing, so they have inner robes and outer robes, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around them. He came to Simon Peter, who said, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you will have no part with me." "Then, Lord," said Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "A person who has had a bath needs only to wash his feet." You have to imagine the kind of back and forth. This is like Peter loves him. This is his buddy, right? But it's also his Lord and Savior, right? So he's in awe of this person. He thinks he's the most amazing person in existence. And this guy wants to wash. What? No, I serve you. You don't wash my feet. And then, Jesus is like, well, if I don't wash your feet, then you have to let me, or you can't be in the group anymore. And he's just like, well, then he's throwing a joke. Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well wash all of me then. Wash me, all of me. If something needs to be cleansed, cleanse it all, kind of thing. A person who has had a bath only needs to wash his feet. His whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you. For he knew who was going to betray him, and that's why he said not everyone was clean. So, just with that part right there, you have to, he knows who's going to betray him. He knows what's going to happen. He knows all these sorts of things. He knows when there's demons. Like we see him, in the course of the Bible, doing, getting rid of demons, cleansing people's souls, driving them out, right? He doesn't need a whole elaborate ritual. Well, if he doesn't need a whole elaborate ritual, it means he can feel that they're there, right? He can see them, he can feel them, he's aware of their presence. So he would be able to feel, like it's saying what's overcoming Judas. So he can see the change happening, the demon starting to disturb, because they always disturb before they get in, because they can't just get in. We're not open doors for them to just walk in. They got to wear you down. That's why every one of those possession movies have them scaring people and moving things around and disturbing their sleep, because they got to get into you, in here, into your psychology before they can get into your body. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I have set for you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I'll tell you the truth, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." And what he's talking about right there is called servant leadership. Now, I went to Grand Canyon University for my MBA. That is a Christian college, and they very much so talk about servant leadership. So that's a way bigger topic than we're going to cover in this. But just remember, as you go about the world today, that leadership and power and all that doesn't look like I gotta force the room to move. Your positive energy changes the energy of the room. So don't come in like a gangbuster ready to knock people down for every moment of every day. Come in with an open heart and be like, how can I help you become a better person? What can I help you with? What do you need me to make for you, do for you, assist you? Because if it doesn't matter if you're the only one in a state of positivity, the world's not going to change. You need to be bringing out the positive in everybody around you. So let's be a beacon of light today. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv. We are in Psalms, Book 5, Psalm 116. I love the Lord, for he heard my voice. He heard my cry for mercy, because he turned his ear to me. I will call on him as long as I live. The cords of death entangled me. The anguish of the grave came upon me. I was overcome by trouble and sorrow. Then I called on the name of the Lord. O Lord, save me. The Lord is gracious and righteous. Our God is full of compassion. The Lord protects the simple-hearted. When I was in great need, he saved me. Be at rest once more, O my soul, for the Lord has been good to you. For you, O Lord, he delivered my soul from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling, that I may walk before the Lord in the land of the living. I believed, therefore I said, I am greatly afflicted. And in my dismay I said, all men are liars. Oh, hasn't a lot of us been there before? How can I repay the Lord for all his goodness to me? I will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. O Lord, truly, I am your servant. I am your servant, the son of your maid servant, or in this case for me, the daughter of your maid servant. You, but I'm not the author, so I have to be clear with that. You have freed me from my chains. I will sacrifice a thank offering to you and call on the name of the Lord. I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people, in the courts of the house of the Lord, in your midst, O Jerusalem. Praise the Lord. So obviously I feel very identifying with that. So yay! So until the next video, friends.